classroom, which was an old-fashioned room with an old-fashioned mantel.
Third grade classroom.
The third grade classroom, which was an old-fashioned classroom with an old-fashioned clock on the mantel. And I dreamed up the idea that it would be helpful if I would push that clock forward a little bit from time to time, and thus get us dismissed ahead of the rest of the school. So I would open the face when Anna McCarran's back was to us because she was explaining something on the backboard. I would open the face of the clock, push it ahead 5 minutes, close it. And later on, when she'd be up there again, I'd repeat that. If I repeated 3, 4, 5 times, why, we would be dismissed anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour before the rest of the school. At first, this wasn't noticeable, and it seemed it didn't impress anybody, except they changed the clock because they thought something was wrong with the clock. But when the same thing happened to the substitute clock, the new clock, why, then they began to watch, and of course, before long, Ann McCarran caught me right in the middle of pushing the clock forward. And she took me to what in those days was very common in all old-fashioned school rooms, a cloak room at the back of the classroom. And I don't know what she planned to do with me, but I assumed that she was going to hold me there until the classes were over and either talk to me alone or take me to the Mother Superior or whatnot. But anyhow, she took me and put me in the cloakroom at the back and told me to stay there until I heard from her again. Well, I went to the window of this cloakroom and I looked out, and here was a tin roof leading on a slant up to another window, which was entirely within reach. So even though the roof was several feet below my window, I knew I could go up it and pull myself in, which I proceeded to do. And I jumped for this window, and I reached inside of the windowsill and pulled myself up and pulled my body into the room. And as I did, I heard the most blood-curdling scream I had ever heard in my life. And even at my age, which I'm not going to tell you, but at my age where I'm telling this story, I have never heard a more blood-curdling scream. Well, it happens that I had pulled myself into the nun's john, and there was a nun very busy doing what people do when they're in the john. And all she saw was some hands coming through the window and a body coming through after the hands, and she took off. Well, I sat on the windowsill and I realized I couldn't go back down the shed because I couldn't reach the window that I came in from, and at the top of the shed there were no windows on account of a wall, and there was no windows on the other side that I could reach either. And I sat there wondering what I should do when not only the roof, but the whole building fell in on top of me in the form of the Mother Superior appearing at the door, accompanied by the security officer of the convent and a uniformed policeman. And of course, they took me into custody, and what they were going to do with me, I have no idea, but of course I was in a very bad spot. I had no right climbing in the nun's toilet's window, but I just didn't know. Nobody put a sign on it, but that's what it was. And I didn't know. I'd never been in it before, naturally. How would I know what it was? But anyway, Mother Superior was so aggravated at me. It's the only time in my life that I have seen a religious person of that type lose their temper. She was so mad at me she could have broken my neck, and she even said to me, you've done such a horrible thing. If I were to push you down this stairway and break your neck, it wouldn't be out of line to do that to you, etc. Well, I don't remember much of what happened after that, except that I arrived home and I was expelled. And nothing that my father and mother would do would get me reinstated. Now, however, this convent, and I don't know whether they still do it, I doubt it, and I don't know that very many schools have ever done it. But this convent was run on a basis where the only way you could become a student was to be invited. You could not go and apply. You had to be invited. Well, I had two brothers, 7 and 11 years older than me, and 3 sisters, all of whom had gone through the grammar school at this convent, which was operated, one for the boys and another grammar school for the girls, 8th grade schools, and the boys were then supposed to transfer to St. Joseph's College, which was not too far away, and the girls were supposed to finish the high school, which was operated at the convent. And you had to have an invitation to attend the school. Well, my brothers and sisters had all received their invitations over years and years and years and been students there. But when August came, I did not get an invitation. And when my father, who had done hundreds, and I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said thousands of dollars worth of things for that convent, made a personal appearance to try and get me accepted again, he was turned down, and they said something about they might make exceptions here and there for some people, but they never wanted me in their school again, period. And that's the end of the story, unless you want me to tell that I went to the Gesu, G-E-S-U, parochial school, which incidentally was across the street from St. Joseph's College and St. Joseph's Prep School.
Yeah.
Now this is the 3rd time I have tried to do this on this blasted machine, and this is going to be the last time, and I hope it's all there and that you enjoy it.
See, these are only 5-minute tapes.